Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ozzy's Drives. In today's episode, we're driving this very handsome BMW M2 and it's the non-competition version. We're gonna find out how it drives and how much fuel this thing is actually using, so stay tuned. But before we start with our fuel economy test, let's just appreciate the looks of this car. The designer did an incredible job because I really think it looks very, very handsome. It's a beautiful looking car. Now, I will say that I think it looks kind of feminine, right? It does look a little bit feminine. It has the beautiful headlights, but they remind me a lot of a feminine's eye, of a woman's eye, right? It does look a little bit girly from the front, but hey, that's just me, right? It is a very fast and very good car, but it does look a little bit feminine. I'll be honest to you, I think it does. Now, carbon lip here, very nice carbon side mirrors, make it look more masculine. Then the rear end is 100% masculine in my opinion, because obviously look at it, right? Thick thighs here, very nice diffuser down there, great sound system, a little spoiler. I like it. Let's pop the hood. Now here is where people separate whether this is a real M car or not, and it's the engine. N55 from a normal 240, right? That has been tuned by the M division. Better airflow, better cooling, a little bit more power. And I get it, right? When you're driving this car, you can feel, I don't want to even say it, but it doesn't really feel like an M engine. It doesn't feel like they put everything out that they could, right? So there is where the people separate. There's 370 horsepower, 500 newton meters of torque with overboost, accelerating this thing from 0 to 100 in 4.3 seconds. And it should use 7.6 liters as BMW claims. All right, let's go and fill the car up. And there is one thing that I really dislike about this car. I think the interior is pretty lame. I'll be honest to you, it is functional. Materials are also okay, right, for the price and so on. But it's kind of lame. I mean, look at that, right? When I change to sport mode, look at the animation. But this is a 218, man, in all honesty. I mean, come on, right? You could have just went a little bit into detail with it. I don't know. The interior game has really changed a lot with BMW. They were terrible at interiors back in the day. Now they got a little bit better. I think they progressed quite a lot. So, yeah. But we are at the petrol station and it's time to fill this thing up. Okay, arrived at the petrol station. As you can see, I'm going to reset everything, the kilometers that we're driving and obviously the fuel gauge, right? So turn the car off. That's it. Let's fill this thing up. Now with the M2, it's not going to be that bad. I don't think it has a big tank. It should be around, I don't know, 50 liters maximum, right? So we had like about 1/3 of the tank left. I think this is going to be at, somewhere 30-35 liters. Let's see. From behind, it looks very beautiful. Really, I really like the looks from behind. Yeah, it's a nice looking car. It is exactly as I said. 30 liters went into the tank. Yep, I think we should go and pay, right? All right, friends, let's start this thing up. Okay. Set to 0, full tank, let's begin. Strategy with the M car, M2 is very simple. I'll shift myself. This thing shifts down as quick, you wouldn't believe it. It's much quicker than the latest shifts, right? You just touch the throttle, it goes down a gear. It has a double clutch system, so I'll just shift myself to not basically, I don't want it to go into 6th gear, right? I really want to save fuel now with this drive. So 4th gear, look at that. 5th gear, the drive is set to comfort. We're hovering at 60. 6th gear, come on, and dropping it into 7th gear as soon as possible, like now. 7th gear. That's the strategy for today. And the broad claim of BMW that this thing is going to use 7.6 liters, I don't know if that is true. I've done a test on the BMW M2 competition, right? There's a link, I'll put it into the description, which I was 100% sure it can do it. and it did absolutely phenomenal. It did a 5.6 liters, I believe. It was sick. I couldn't believe it. In all honesty, I couldn't believe it. We were driving like, I don't know, I think calculated to 100 kilometers, it was 6.1 liters, but it was just sick. Okay, it was beautiful to drive and a phenomenal result. With the N55, I don't really know. I don't really know, friends. We'll see it. We'll see. Okay, I'll tune in a little later. All right, friends, quick update on what we're using currently. The car has been driving for 40 kilometers. We're at 7.4 liters. And I can tell you one thing, as soon as you go over 120 kph, the whole fuel economy is going to shit. In all honesty, it's really dramatic. Really, it's really dramatic. 120 kph, exceeding 2000 RPMs, and everything goes down terribly. That is really, really interesting to see. Although, you know, 7.5 liters now, it's really not bad, right? But it's not possible to hold it, I feel. We'll try it, we'll drive a little bit more. I think after 110 kilometers we'll get a right result, a good approximate. But yeah, it's just climbing up at 120 kph. Before we couldn't drive faster than 100, right? Too much traffic. And now climbing over 120 kph is just really, really bad. I have a little bit of an issue with the M2. And it's basically, I'll explain. You know, I've been driving multiple M cars. I've been owning M cars. I even own an M car now. And I know what a true M car feels like, right? I've been driving the old ones, the M3, the E92, the M4, the latest ones, the M6 V10 that I own. All of those cars have a very, very special character. And it is always the engine in combination with the gearbox. Now with this car, I can really tell that it feels much more like an M235, okay? I hate to bring it to you, but it doesn't really feel like an M car in that sense. The suspension works fine, the brakes are also nice, you know, it's not bad. But I wouldn't consider this a real M car. It's just not as snappy. It's not as silky smooth when you accelerate. The engine doesn't feel that aggressive like an M car engine should. You know, it isn't slow, but it's not fast. In my opinion, if you want to have the full M experience with a car in the similar price range, I would advise you to go with an old M3 E92. I would even advise you to go with an M3 E46 because you can really tell they took everything they could out of the car, right? M3 E92, everything that they put into the car is to the max. This suspension feels a little bit like they tweaked it. It doesn't feel as fast. It doesn't feel as sporty as an M2 competition, for example. So if you really like the looks of the M2, I would go with the competition 100%. And I would even consider going with the M3, M4. Pay a little bit more, get that extra in, and drive an M4, right? Does it feel M, like a proper M car? I hate to bring it to you, friends, but to me, it doesn't. There's a lot of tuning you have to do to make this feel like a real M car. It's sort of like a tuned 335, right? It will never feel like a crazy M car. The brakes are wonderful, the suspension is but yeah, that's it. Otherwise, it is a nice car to drive, right? I mean, if this is your first entrance into the M world, it's beautiful. You won't even know what I'm talking about. You will say, what the hell are you talking about? You wouldn't understand, right? But to me, I really drove a lot of them. I owned M cars and it doesn't feel like a proper M car feels. That's just what I think. All right, friends, we are rolling. We're at kilometer 83, and as you can see, it has drastically increased. We're at 8.9 liters. I told you, as soon as you drive over 120 kph, this car won't have any good fuel economy. It's literally that bad, in all honesty. Does it have to do maybe with shitty A-class? Does it have to do maybe with the, I don't know, aerodynamics? Is it because of the drivetrain? I don't know. I really don't know. Is it maybe because of the carbon parts fitted to the car? I don't know, but I noticed it with the N55 engine. I can remember it with the M235. This thing as soon as you drive 120 kph, won't be able to go very much under 8 liters, no chance. So let's see. I wonder how much it will actually be I wonder how much it will actually use when we arrive at the petrol station, but it just went up. It just went up, and we're driving on the Autobahn, and that's the worst thing. It's an Autobahn drive. All right, friends, just as I told you in the beginning, it was actually going quite well. It had a very good fuel economy, but then all of a sudden it started going downhill, and here we are at 8.8 liters to 100 kilometers. I'm not really a fan of it. We've been driving for 107 kilometers. So let's see how much it actually used at the petrol station while filling it up. Yeah, I don't know. It's not really a good result for such a small car. It's really not. Same as before. Put 95 into the first click. Let's see what will happen. 8.9 is what it says to 100 kilometers. That's not a good result, friends. According to my calculations, it should have used 9.4 liters, 9.5 to round it up, and it used 10.5 to 107 kilometers, which is not good at all. I'll be completely honest, I don't think this is a good result, because the M2 competition used somewhere around 6 liters. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. Is it maybe because this is an OPF? I didn't really punish it. I didn't really push the throttle. I don't know what it was. I don't know. Is it maybe the temperature? I'm not sure. But the result of the fuel economy test is not good. It's literally not good for a car of 1.5 tons. Pretty disappointing fuel economy test, friends. I'm not really a fan of the fuel economy of the M2. It wasn't that good. It's really disappointing, and actually I think it's disappointing. But anyway, we're gonna find out how good this car is as a driver's machine. So make sure to check out the link in the description where we take it through some fun roads. And thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. God bless you, and see you on the next one. Goodbye.